Since its launch in 2005, Broad Street Review has sought to promote the exchange of viewpoints rather than any particular point of view. To that end, we welcome commentary from professionals and amateurs alike about the performing and visual arts, as well as any other field of interest to our eclectic group of contributors. The following interview was submitted to Broad Street Review, powered by Rep Radio. I'm here at the Music Theater Philly, located at 1201 Spruce Street. And if you've been here as long as I have, you remember when this was Cheap Art Cafe. And it wasn't nothing to really be proud of, but it's been several other things, and I hope this has a long lasting legacy here. So I'm happy to be here because I haven't been in this building in a long time. And I'm here today with Mindy Dougherty. And Mindy is the co-founder of Music Theater Philly. So Mindy, welcome to Rep Radio.
Thank you for having me.
This is great. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a Philadelphia native, and I grew up in Malvern and ended up at Penn State University majoring in musical theater. And then I went off to New York to pursue my career in musical theater as a performer. And that's a whole nother story. But I ended up going to grad school for theater education, actually, while I was doing Gypsy on Broadway. I had a lot of free time, believe it or not, with the show at night. And I thought, you know what? Let me just start getting to work on my master's program, because I always knew that theater education was my goal in the end. I love theater education, and growing up, I did ballet and theater and as many shows as I could possibly do. And I made so many wonderful contacts and teachers who truly paved the way for me. So it's always been a dream of mine to pay it forward and to create a program that could inspire and mentor kids the way that I felt that I was growing up.
Yeah. Let's be honest. You're doing this because you want to be thanked at award shows.
Well, it is funny that you mention that. I do cry every time someone mentions their teachers growing up.
Because they're the most notable. And you can always call back to, I remember 4th grade, that teacher wouldn't give up on me, and I was upset at the time, but now I'm so grateful for it. It's always amazing to have that call back, and I can imagine that teacher just going, huh? Did they?
Right. Was that me?
So how did you start Music Theater Philly? Like, when did the idea come into your head? I know you wanted to be an educator, but how did this all form? How long did it take to get to where we are today?
Gosh, oh my gosh, when did I graduate college? I graduated college in 2001, and I went to college, 97. Wow, almost 20 years since the idea came into my head.
So it's a short period of time.
Right, short period of time. Stew on it. I arrived at Penn State with a very strong classical ballet background. I was a dancer at the Rock School, and I did the Nutcrackers with Pennsylvania Ballet, the whole 9 yards. But I had never taken a tap dance class. I never had a voice lesson. I could sing, but I had no idea how or what I was doing or how to read music or any of it. Nothing other than really ballet and just a natural flair for theatrics.
Yeah.
And I met a bunch of students, my fellow classmates, who had so much knowledge and were so much more prepared, and they just had amazing training. And they pretty much all of them came out of this training program in Pittsburgh called Pittsburgh Music Theater. And I just admired that program and what it offers kids. And they have a pre-professional program for juniors and seniors, I believe, that excel in musical theater and can come half day. And they are leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of us. Those kids were, at least. So I always thought, man, we really need that in Philly. And someday I'm going to start it.
Yeah.
And then, I got on with my life. I'm on Broadway. I'm in New York. And my husband and I moved back to Philadelphia due to his job. But our family's here, so it was an obvious choice. And I couldn't believe that this kind of programming still didn't exist. Let's call it 18 years later at that point.
Yeah.
And the real reason that I was able to put it into motion is pretty positively my meeting Dan Dunn, who is my partner. Mm-hmm. We did curtains together at the Walnut Street Theater.
Nice.
And I was pregnant with my first baby. And we just struck up a great friendship. And every night in the wings, we would chat about theater education and dance education in Philadelphia and our dreams and aspirations and what we think this town could use and how we think it could be done. And these conversations were wonderful. Flash forward a year and a half later, I have New Mommyville under my belt, and I ran into Dan again at the Walnut at an audition for 9 to 5. And I said, hey, you still having those thoughts? Let's get together. And that is when we got together and we just started meeting every week and brainstorming. And, it's been 3 years in the works. We've been teaching through other locations for about 2 years. Very small, one class at a time, and then build. And now here we are. So it all started in the wings of the Walnut Street Theater while we were doing curtains.
Well, that's great. When I first heard about Music Theater Philly, and I went to the website and I read the press release, and I was thinking about when I worked in Ardmore, there's a company out there called Music Training Center, and I think they're spread out throughout in the suburbs. I remember passing that every day on my way to lunch and saying so I guess this is kind of a if the kids want to play, they can play, but it was they're serious, but somebody's probably looking at it more of a recreational thing, and then that's how they get bit by the bug.
Right.
Which gets them in there. So what is the mission of Music Theater Philly?
Well, our main mission is to build confidence and to have fun while doing it. So for our young students, we just want to introduce them to the world of musical theater and give them the opportunity to experience all aspects of it, because there's room for everyone in this field. Mm-hmm. You don't just have to be a singer. You don't just have to be an actress or a dancer. It's just a brilliant art form where it combines so many elements to create the final product. So our goal is to, through confidence building and camaraderie and mentorship, provide an outlet and a safe haven for youth to not only develop their craft as performers, but just their character, on stage and off. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that some kids, this is their thing, whereas if you play soccer or lacrosse, you're getting that team building and, discipline and drive and all of that. Some kids don't hook in with that. Yeah. So this provides another outlet for the kids that might not have found their niche yet. Yeah. And it ultimately helps with your interpersonal skills and your confidence and just your basic survival skills out in the world as human beings.
Yeah. And some kids just get a Disney dress and they're sitting in their room and they don't know what to do.
Right, and we encourage dress up. We had an Olaf here on Monday and an Elsa here for one of our classes, and we say that's great.
I was looking at the list of classes you have, and there's one called Disney Royalty. Yeah. And the first thing I thought is, why isn't this an adult class? I feel so cheated.
That is so funny. You can come anytime. Oh my goodness.
I'll be the Valiant Prince.
That would be great.
So tell us what a class. I guess start with the kids, but tell us what a class at Music Theater Philly would feel like.
So we have two divisions at this point for our youth, and one is a performance track where they take a class, and for instance last semester we did Annie Kids, And so we rent the materials through MTI, Music Theater International, and they actually get a script, and they do a show. We do a fully realized show. Very low budget set and lights and costumes, but they do a fully realized kids production. So that class, along with, we did a Matilda in concert, and this semester we're doing Winnie the Pooh, and also a Blockbusters class, which will include songs from Hamilton and School of Rock, and we're trying to really link in with the cutting-edge new musicals that attract some of the older students. But those classes essentially start out with a dance warm-up, and then a vocal warm-up at the piano, so that's a music director's in the room, and a director and choreographer. And once they're warmed up, they just dive right into the material. And we had Winnie the Pooh this week, and they already had their auditions, and that went really well, and it's very fun. And the other division is simply classes. So we developed a class which is actually having great success, and it's called the Triple Threat Dance Class. And the idea was, I learned it from that's how I was trained growing up. I did tap, jazz, and ballet until I was 8. And then when you're 8, you choose your specialty, what you like. And I didn't like anything but ballet. So I went to the rock school. And I in retrospect, I think it was such a brilliant idea, even though it was in the tiniest little basement dance studio. But looking at my girls, trying to get them to dance class, to ballet, and in the tights and all that, it's a fight every week, or gymnastics, or this. And you just don't have that much time. I don't have 3 days a week to take my 2 girls, ages 4 and 5, schlep them all around the city, have them try a jazz class, have them try a ballet class. And quite frankly, there are very few, if not any, tap and jazz. There are a few people here and there, not convenient, that are doing that for kids. Ballet, we have a ton of amazing options. So that class is doing well because in 1 hour you can do tap, jazz, and ballet, and it keeps their interest. 20 minutes ballet song, and it's all based in musical theater, so it's all to musical theater songs that they can recognize. And that is that. And then we also have a few classes for younger students who are not ready for Winnie the Pooh or Annie at this point, and those are called Baby Steps, and it's basically a compilation of musical theater songs where they learn how to combine what they're learning in Triple Threat, and also get on their feet, and they learn the basics of vocal technique. Even at age 3, we have them sit in the nest, and we do our little birdie singing, and then we put them on their feet, and it's basic, stand on the X, stay there. Now let's all form a line, form a circle, and that ends in a final showing for the parents. And so those are basically that we're adding more classes now. We actually have a hip hop class coming, and we have straight musical theater dance classes. We're building the dance program as we speak. So we were able to add adult classes too, which is very exciting. Yes.
I saw that because, while I had been in theater for over 25 years, one of the things that I've always said I would do, or I'd want to do, is learn how to tap. But when I thought about it, I'd say, but why? Like, what are you going to do with it besides just have it? And that's usually the part, maybe that's a little bit of a fear or something that ends up making me put it on the back burner. But every time I see a tap performance, I'm just like, it's just, I know it's in me, and I'm just as excited as they probably were once they realized that they got it. And
well, Sundays at 11:30. Come on down. You know what I'll say about that is, I can totally understand where you're coming from with that, but it's a form of exercise. It would be so much fun. You make friends and you feel good, and it's something new and different. It's not about the end result. It's about what happens in the room and how you feel, and that's part of our mission is confidence building. And even as an adult, me taking ballet class here on Sunday, I know I'm going to leave feeling proud of myself that I did it, because for so long I haven't been going to dance classes because, quite frankly, they're hard to find for adults in the city at the proper time, or you feel intimidated if it's at Pennsylvania Ballet or whatever. So we're trying to make it it's an extension of exercise, essentially. And some people who are still pursuing the career, even then it's training. Then they're keeping up their endurance and they're pushing themselves. So everyone comes in at different levels. So I think you should come.
I might have to take you up on it. It could also just be that they're just not on the radar, because when I was also thinking about dance for adults, and I said I'm glad that they have some adult options, because this might be new and fresh, and it just makes somebody out there who's like, I always wanted to do this, but I know Koresh Dance Company does some classes, but I feel like I'm going to be in there with a bunch of experts who are just hardcore about it, and this is just sort of a warm up, or just continuing on, the skills that they already have, but you're going to be the one in there who's trying to like catch on,
right,
and so on. So I think if you were out on the street, or out at an event, or just out somewhere talking, just talking in general, how would you sell music theater Philly?
Well, I would say for the kids,
like you're talking to I'm talking to an adult that says, just like me, saying like, oh, I always wanted to tap, but that was a different time. And then I fade off into the world, and it's like, wake up.
Yeah. I think what is really great about Music Theater Philly, and which is what I'm very excited about, is that it's a warm and welcoming, comfortable environment where everyone is welcome. It's not as hardcore as you might think Koresh or somewhere else who has a company established with it, and you're in there with company dancers, and it's a little intimidating. This is really going to become the Broadway Dance Center of New York. We want it to be like the Philly version of that, essentially, where you can go and on a Sunday take tap, jazz, and ballet all in one day, or just a tap class, or Monday nights take a musical theater dance class. And it's really wonderful because it's not offered very many places, especially the musical theater.
Yeah.
Dance and jazz, just basic classic jazz, So I would say that we're just really friendly and kind, and we think it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah. And I think there's a community here that would there's a community here to support it too. We have theater artists in theater programs, and we have supporters of the arts who, pack these theaters when, Broadway at the Academy comes into town, whenever one of our smaller, equally dynamic and amazing theater companies mounts a musical. Those are the ones that get the crazy buzz, and, Walnut Street, pretty much whatever happens on their stage, if you are a musical lover, you will go there and see it. But I think that there's so many people in there who just wish they could, or wish they had. And I think it's always a thought for, I guess, the creative arts in general, that there is a window of time to try to do it. Like, I've definitely thought that way about music too. It's like, I could have played the guitar when I was in high school, but you could pick that up at any time.
Right.
You have to encourage people. Because we're talking about musical theater, so tell me your favorite, or tell me the first musical that you went to.
Oh, that I went to.
Or just your favorite, like one that stands out the most, and why?
Well, it's very funny because growing up, musical theater wasn't even on my radar. So I think I'd have to say I really didn't see much of it, and we didn't really have the money to go see shows. So growing up, I didn't really see much, but I will say I have to give it to The Wizard of Oz, because I did see the movie, and I think that's a lot of kids link in, our movie musicals, which is why I love that they're coming back.
But that was wildly popular at Walnut Street.
Oh my gosh, I know. What a beautiful production. I loved it.
Yeah.
So I think Wizard of Oz was the first show. I actually auditioned for it as a dancer to be the little Lullaby League girl on the point shoes, one of them. And I got it. And I just sat backstage every night and would watch the monitors, and that's when I fell in love with musical theater.
Yeah. What I liked about The Wizard of Oz, the staged version of it is that, at least for Walnut, they included the jitterbug.
Yes.
And it's not in the movie, which I think they filmed it, but it wasn't a part of it originally. I'm not sure specifically, but I like that because it sort of reminds me of the dream sequence in Oklahoma.
Oh yes.
Where it's sort of a departure, but it's still there.
Yep.
It just has that feeling where you're just like, oh, I want to see that musical.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a fun song.
Yeah, and it's so. The hardest profession in the world: acting, dance, or music.
Oh.
In your opinion? Because my first musical was Fame. And I remember being in Fame in high school, and there's a moment in Fame where it's sort of like this, where it's sort of a layered moment where it's just acting. The actors are singing, acting is the hardest profession in the world. Dancers are, dance is the hardest profession in the world. Music is the hardest profession in the world. It's sort of this vocal fight over.
I know, and you know what?
Which one is the hardest?
That's a hard pick. Off the top of my head, I would say dancing, mainly because it's so physically draining, and I also think dancing is the hardest profession in the world because it's limited time-wise.
Yeah.
And that, yes, you can dance into your 40s, sure, but, you're not going to be dancing the way you were in your 20s, where if you're a singer, I know your voice changes, but I think your longevity is a little bit more predictable. That being said, I might say that dancing is an easier profession because in a musical, let's say there's a chorus of 8 girls and 8 guys. So the chances of getting a job are a little bit better than if you're just going in as a singer or an actor for the lead role. Yeah. So I think it's just perspective, a matter of how you look at it. I can defend each one in a different way.
If you put 3 in the room, you're saying, well, I think acting is more, because I have to be many different people. Well, I think dance is because I have to stay fit and, ready for this. Well, music, because I'm constantly learning new songs and, playing with other people and that collaboration. And that's why that's such an interesting moment, because all 3 of them together are complicated equally. They all have their layers that ultimately balance out as in, this is all hard work, which is what Fame says. So I always think it's fun to ask that, because usually, if you are a dancer, you come from dance. Dance is going to be the hardest profession for you. So you guys also do more than classes, or you plan to do more than classes. Yes. Can you talk about some of those?
Yeah, so we started last year a masterclass series where we utilized the national touring companies that were coming through town and arranged masterclasses. So we did a Matilda and a Pippin and Sound of Music. And we're doing that this year. We have a Wicked masterclass coming up, and we are trying to bridge the gap between the Broadway style performer, the national tours, the New York companies that are established, and get the people into our building to educate our kids and to do masterclasses. So that's one thing that we're working on, just creating more Broadway boot camp style workshops. And the other thing that we are very committed to and working on is our outreach programming. So stay tuned for more on that. But we already offer several scholarships and work studies. And all of these have just come from word of mouth or students that didn't register, and I kind of asked their moms why, because it seemed like they loved it, and and they just said it's financial. So I said, do not let that be the reason. You come, and so they would come and take their class, and then be a TA for the younger students, and that program has really worked for us. We have about 4 students a semester on scholarship. And I would love to quadruple those numbers. As we grow, that's very important to me because, as I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a single-family environment, and for me, I wouldn't have been able to stay through my dance training had I not been extended scholarships. And there was a 2-year period where my mom and I cleaned the dance studios on Sunday nights because I didn't register for more than 2 classes a week, and the director of the program, and this was the Rock School West, so this was the Rock School, they said, why didn't you register? And I said, we can't afford it. We really just can't afford it. So they said, don't let that stop you. How about we work something out? And so I love being able to do that for others.
Yeah, definitely. When I moved to Philadelphia, I had been in theater all through high school, but when I came here, I feel like when you go to a different area, you kind of have to understand the vibe, the flow, how it feels here. So, if you move to another city, you take a class in that city, and then you figure out what's going on. I came here and I went to Walnut Street Theater, and I was a work study.
Oh, great.
Because I think with the work study, I either got half price or the class I work studied was free, and then I got a discount on the other ones. So it allowed me to get in there too.
Oh, sure.
So I was glad about that. Now for me, I was just taking acting classes so I could be a better director. And I just wanted to have that understanding. But there's all kinds of things that, and it's sort of mentioned all throughout your website, the value of this training and how it plays out in the rest of your life too. Because I do think you can spot the theater kids in a crowd.
Yeah.
And I always, I sometimes post online with the hashtag theater kids are the best kids.
Yeah.
Because they have so much energy and they are the most passionate and emotional, and they're the ones that you feel like, if your kid's not very social, you got to put them in the room with a theater kid.
Yep. Well, it's true. It's
boost their confidence, their self-esteem.
It's actually an amazing outlet for kids to learn how to take risks. Mm-hmm. Because other than raising your hand and answering a question in your classroom, you're not really asked to put yourself out there in front of other people.
Yeah.
But in our training, every kid has a solo. Every kid gets up on the block and sings in front of everyone else, and we do not hold hands through this. And they rise to the occasion, and they jump up and they sing their song, and you can tell they're very nervous, and then it's amazing to see the growth by the end of the semester.
Yeah.
And the parents will say, oh my goodness, I can't believe she did that in front of 500 people. And we say, yep, she did, and it's really inspiring. I love seeing the growth.
Yeah. You just whisper in their ear, it's your stage. It's your house.
Yes.
And they're here as guests in your house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do the work.
Yeah. Are there any musicals that you're looking forward to seeing yourself, or that are coming to Philly, or that you want to go to New York to catch?
Well, I just saw Dear Evan Hansen.
I'm going in February.
Yes, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yes.
I thought I love seeing shows that I think will be a hook into my students, subconscious. Yeah. So I really wanted to see that, and hope to expose my kids to that and open up discussions about that. And that was the one I was most excited about seeing. I also am very excited about Miss Bette Midler in Hello, Dolly.
Yes.
She is going to slay.
Yeah.
So I have my tickets for that already.
Oh, great.
I'm pretty excited about that.
What ultimately do you hope to accomplish with Music Theater Philly?
Ultimately, with Music Theater Philly, I would love to build our children's programming to be a very prominent program in the city for young artists. And expanding on that, I really believe that we can develop a training program for young adults and professionals. So a facility where you can quickly get a coaching on a song, work on your monologue, take dance classes, focus on your craft in a way that is challenged by people working in the profession. So that would lead to my masterclass programming.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to develop that where artists in Philadelphia are truly being exposed to very successful and brilliant artists.
Great. And then, and for the adults out there who are apprehensive, who feel like you missed the boat, go get some tap shoes and come learn to tap dance, or come take a ballet class. The adult classes are all drop-in.
Yes, they are.
So you don't have to schedule ahead of time, and they're like $15.
Yes.
So, you can skip yoga and then go to dance instead.
And we're right across from Tria, so you can come take a ballet class and then go sit at Tria.
You're like, that's so great, I need a glass of wine now.
I know, you said it, not me. I said salad.
Well, it's cheese and wine over there.
Oh, that's the truth.
Yes, well, this facility is beautiful, and for someone who has been here in the many iterations of what this space is, this is a huge upgrade, and I wish you success.
Thank you.
For Music Theater Philly as you continue to grow and build out your program. And for you listeners out there, if you want more information about Music Theater Philly, you can go to musictheaterphilly.com. And there's a calendar there for all the classes there. You can stop by. It's at 1201 Spruce Street. And when the doors open, you can pop in, pick up a postcard, pick up the schedule, and be on your way and add a little music theater to your life. Mindy, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for sharing your organization with us. And I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Philly.
All right.
This podcast is brought to you by Broad Street Review, the website where art and ideas meet. Since 2005, BroadStreetReview.com is the place knowledgeable Philadelphians turn for honest, independent, and passionate criticism and commentary about Philadelphia's dynamic arts scene. Join the conversation. It's free. You can reach Broad Street Review online at BroadStreetReview.com. Follow us on Twitter at Broad Street Review and like us on Facebook. To show your support for this podcast and our Philadelphia area arts coverage, please go to BroadStreetReview.com and click the button at the top of the page that says Contribute. Thank you for helping to keep the conversation going.